In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a three. Kelsey Mitchell!
The Fever's game against the Sun was more than just a win. It was a fork-in-the-road moment. In a season of setback after setback, this matchup carried a different kind of weight. The Fever were deep in the playoff hunt, but back-to-back losses to the Wings and Mystics, two teams below them in the standings, had erased their margin for error. And as the first half unfolded, it looked like the story was already written.
So it was over. The season was done.
The offense stalled. Connecticut pushed the lead higher and higher. The scoreboard told a cruel truth. Indiana looked cooked. The fans at home felt it. The players on the bench wore it. Every miss, every turnover, even with 9 games left after this one, it felt like the season was slipping away in real time.
Step back three-pointer. Left it short. Mitchell now 0 for 4. Run out. Rivers explodes.
But basketball has a funny way of turning despair into drama. And on this day, the Fever, and Kelsey Mitchell in particular, gave us a comeback for the record books. And in a month, we might look back at this as the most important half of the Fever's season. And for Caitlin Clark, a true turning point. Now, before I get into what happened, I have to play this famous clip to set the stage.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win.
This legendary Herm Edwards line has lived on for decades. You play to win the game. It's simple, but it cuts deep. No excuses, no matter the score, no matter the injuries, no matter how bad it looks. It's about winning. You show up, you fight. And I bring this up because in this game, the Fever had every reason to finally throw in the towel. Once again, it felt like someone out there had a voodoo doll with Indiana's name on it. Another key injury, this time to Sophie Cunningham. Mid-game, she went down in obvious pain. She stayed on the floor for several moments before being helped off with assistance from trainers. She couldn't put full weight on her leg, and the look on her face told the story. This wasn't a bump or a bruise. This was serious. The timing couldn't have been worse. Already without Caitlin Clark, already without Sydney Colson, already without Arie McDonald. And now Sophie, one of their emotional leaders and floor spacers, was sidelined. You could feel the frustration boiling over. This wasn't just bad luck anymore. It felt like a cruel pattern. The kind of season where every time momentum builds, something else gets ripped away. And Sophie's family had had enough. They went straight to social media, blasting the WNBA for poor officiating and lack of player protection.
We got Sophie's sister Lindsay and her mom Paula. At WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie Cunningham. And Sophie's mother, Paula. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control.
And for a team that had already lost Sydney Colson, Arie McDonald, and of course Caitlin Clark, this just felt like the last straw. The Fever were down by 21, in what was supposed to be a must-win game against the worst team in the league. Nothing was working. The offense was lifeless, the defense looked rattled, and the energy on the bench was flat. You could almost feel it through the screen. Fever Nation and the team itself were ready to pack it in.
One of your starters goes down, one of your leaders goes down. And after that, it did feel like the morale of the team was down for the first half, and they went into halftime being down 20 points. And I thought, I was on live, you guys heard it from me, I was like, okay, this game's done. Like, they just can't get out of it. The morale of the team is done. Seeing Sophie go down, like, maybe this team just doesn't have any fight left in them. And I was actually ready to give them a pass as well. I was like, you know what? It's been a hard season. And at some point, you might just have to throw in the towel and be like, you know what? We will get after it next season. It is what it is.
It was like the season had already died, and everyone had quietly moved into the acceptance phase of the grieving process. A write-off. 9 games still left on the schedule, but hope already gone. But then, the Fever came alive. It didn't start with fireworks. It started quietly, almost like a flicker in the dark. A Kelsey Mitchell free throw, then a floater, then a 3.
In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a three. Kelsey Mitchell!
Suddenly, the body language shifted. The same shots that clanged off the rim in the first half started to fall. By the 5:37 mark, that 21-point hole had been chipped down to 14. By the end of the third quarter, the deficit was only 11, and for the first time all night, the building started to buzz. You could feel the momentum tilting.
Boston backs down Hartley. Aaliyah Boston, excellent post position.
The Suns still led, but the Fever had cracked the door open, and Kelsey Mitchell was about to kick it wide open.
Essentially, I thought, well, I wasted my day watching this game and going live for it. Then cue the end of the third quarter. The momentum shifted and the Fever started chipping away at this enormous lead that the Connecticut Sun had on them. For the majority of the game, I would say that the lead was around 15, 16 points, and they got it down to 8 points, and Kelsey Mitchell started heating up.
With the season on the line, Kelsey Mitchell caught fire. 8:38 mark, Mitchell drills a three. Next possession, she attacks the rim, knocks down free throws. Suddenly, the Suns' double-digit lead was evaporating. Then, like a spark spreading, Lexi Hull joined the party. Wide open in the corner, she let it fly, and hit. After weeks of brutal shooting struggles, she picked the perfect moment to deliver. All at once, the Fever were alive.
Howard, assertive, two and the foul!
The crowd was roaring, the bench was on its feet. Every possession mattered now. Odyssey Sims turned into a one-woman wrecking ball, fearlessly driving the lane, getting to the line, piling up 9 free throws on sheer aggression. Brianna Turner, who'd barely been in the rotation, checked in and gave defensive minutes that were pure grit, finishing a +10 on the floor despite not scoring a single point. By the final minute of regulation, Kelsey Mitchell had dragged Indiana all the way back. The scoreboard, 84-84. Tie game. The impossible was now reality. Overtime. Stephanie White fist-pumped on the sideline. The Fever bench roared like the game had already been won. The comeback was real. And overtime, it belonged to Indiana. 20 seconds in, Kelsey Mitchell sliced to the rim for a layup. A minute later, a three. Next trip down, another one. Back-to-back daggers from deep. Mitchell wasn't just hot. She was volcanic. The Sun were rattled. The same shots they had buried in the first half suddenly rimmed out. Tight shoulders, hesitant passes. Meanwhile, Indiana smelled blood. Then came the moment. Bree Turner drove hard to the rim, drew the defense, and kicked it to the corner. Lexi Hull calmly rose, released, and buried it. Swish, dagger, Fever up for good. Final score, 99-93. The largest comeback in franchise history.
As a matter of fact, this was the largest comeback in Indiana Fever franchise history. And it was funny because there were so many people cheering in Connecticut for the Indiana Fever when all this was happening. There was actually just so many Fever fans in Connecticut. As a matter of fact, when Marina Mabrey went on the court in the beginning of the game, they booed her. Imagine getting booed in your own arena.
Yes, this was against the worst team in the league. Yes, it was a team Indiana absolutely had to beat. But the way they won it, that's what made it unforgettable. Overcoming yet another key injury. Digging out of a 21-point crater. Doing it with a home crowd that traveled and roared louder than the Suns' own fans. This wasn't just a win, it was survival. It was belief. It was special. And it was a true gutsy team effort. Kelsey Mitchell, 38 points, 34 in the second half. An absolute masterpiece. She started with just 4 points in the first half, then single-handedly rewrote the script. That's the definition of refusing to quit. Lexi Hull, 8 points, 7 rebounds, and the clutch threes that snapped her slump at the perfect time. Every hustle play mattered, and she delivered them all. Odyssey Sims, fearless drives, 9 free throws, relentless pressure. She played like someone who refused to let the season end. Brianna Turner, no box score glory, but plus-minus doesn't lie. +10 in a game decided by 6 points. She steadied the defense when the Fever needed it most. Aaliyah Boston, 14 points, 13 boards, the anchor in the paint, the rock you build around. This was the kind of win that galvanizes a locker room, the kind of win that can flip a season's momentum. And clearly it did. Because after the game, you didn't just see it in the box score, you felt it in the reactions. Injured teammates were tweeting their support in real time, beaming with pride at what their team had pulled off. And inside the locker room, the emotion was overflowing. Relief, joy, pride. This wasn't just about a single win. It was about proving to themselves that they could survive the storm and still come out swinging.
I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yep. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. Your never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and we will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back.
Inside the locker room, you could see it on every face. This one mattered. It wasn't just celebration, it was relief. It was pride. It was belief pouring out of a team that had been battered all season long. This game might go down as the most important of the Fever season. Yes, there are still games left to play, and yes, a lot can happen, good or bad, but we can all agree. Losing this one would have been devastating emotionally. Think about it. A third straight loss against the worst team in the league, with the Lynx coming up 3 times in the final stretch, plus one of the toughest closing schedules in the WNBA. If they had dropped this game, their season was likely cooked. And everyone felt it.
To see Sophie Cunningham go down with injury amid all the other injuries that the Fever have suffered, it really felt like it was over. I mean, before the game, Stephanie White said she hopes Caitlin Clark is back at some point in the regular season. Then you see Sophie come down and you see them getting blown out by the sun, and you kind of think, what's the point?
Because here's the truth. There's no way the Fever push Caitlin Clark back onto the floor if they're out of the playoff race. No team risks their franchise player for meaningless games. And before this one even tipped off, when Stephanie White was asked about Caitlin's status, she didn't exactly give fans a reason to feel optimistic. The vibe wasn't she's almost back. It was cautious, hesitant, like her return was still a big question mark.
Now that I'm watching it, instead of reading what she had to say, I'm still on my theory that I don't believe Caitlin Clark come back. For her to say she's hopeful that she's going to come back, that's the game plan. She didn't seem or look very confident in stating that Caitlin was going to come back. This is a very interesting conversation she's having with reporters today.
Caitlin Clark still isn't practicing full out with the team. And let's be real, there's no way she gets thrown back into the fire just to save a sinking season. Not with her long-term future at stake. But that doesn't mean the door is closed. If she can resume full practices soon, a playoff return is absolutely on the table. And that's exactly why this win was so important. It keeps the Fever in the mix. It gives Caitlin a chance to come back when the games matter most. And once you get to the postseason, anything can happen.
And maybe you guys don't think that today, quote unquote, 1,000,000% for sure saved the Fever season. I think it did. I think it did. I think it was huge for the season. I think the Indiana Fever, unless the Sparks come back in this game, are probably going to make the playoffs. And is there an argument to be made that it's actually better for the Fever to have lost this game and to not make the playoffs? Sure. But you know what? As a sports fan, fuck losing. Fuck tanking. I want to see the Indiana Fever play in the playoffs because I think Caitlin Clark's going to be healthy for the playoffs. I think Caitlin Clark is going to be healthy for the playoffs. I think that spell, those last 3 games, where I don't think anyone's going to play in that last Lynx game unless it's needed. I think that Mystics and Sky game back to back, I think she's going to become, even if she's a little bit iffy, no matter what, if they're going to make the playoffs, I think she's coming back for those 2 games. And then with Caitlin Clark there, even a 75% Caitlin Clark. People are saying, oh, Caitlin Clark, she's going to get surgery in the offseason. People are like, oh, she needs surgery in the offseason. If she needs surgery in the offseason, go and play. Go and play in the playoffs. Because with Kelsey Mitchell, the way she can score, you have a puncher's chance. You always have a puncher's chance.
This Fever team has already proven they can hang with the best. They've beaten the Lynx, the Liberty, the Mercury, and the Dream. But let's be honest, a healthy, or even mostly healthy Caitlin Clark takes them to a completely different level. And if you followed her career, you know one thing for certain. Caitlin doesn't just play in big moments, she owns them. That's probably why you clicked this video, because Caitlin Clark in big games is can't-miss basketball. So here's the truth, Fever Nation. There's hope, and that hope wouldn't exist without this comeback. Yes, it came against one of the league's bottom teams, but when your season is teetering on the edge, It's not about who you beat. It's about finding a way to survive. Because like Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. And the Indiana Fever, down 21, battered and bruised, with every reason to quit, refused. They fought, they believed, and they won. And now everything feels possible again. If you're still here, drop a goat in the comments because that's what you are for sticking with me. Thanks for watching.